Welcome, everyone. This is Work Made Human. I'm Nichole Méndez, Director of Talent Acquisition here at BAM.
I'm Jill Veglahn, Head of People at BAM. And with us today, coming from New Jersey, is Kate Assaraf, founder of DIP. Shout out New Jersey. Feeling very left out.
Kate, so we always start the show by diving into the really human story behind the brand. You've mentioned online that your journey started, correct me if I'm wrong, around 2014 when you realized just the reality of plastic recycling feeling like a myth. So like AKA Santa isn't real moment.
Yeah.
And we would love to know just more about your story. How did that specific frustration make you want to build, in your words, an environmental company basically parading as a brand?
So,
by the way.
Thank you. I think a true sustainable person would get that. And that's why I made the tagline that we're environmentalists first, parading around as beauty. Because I think so often you just see the opposite. You see any kind of company saying that they're sustainable. And I mean, just fairly recently with Veglahn and their acquisition to Shein, you see that the sustainability part didn't have the anchors that the consumers thought it did. And so for me in 2014, it's true. That's when I discovered about the horrors of plastic. And it was almost by accident. I was reading a book I was pregnant with my first son. I was reading a book about, raising boys. And because my brother handed me this book and it was like about video games and, hunting and spending time in nature and a lot of lost things that parents and children do together. But one of the elements that was kind of breezed over in the book was that plastics were really, really not just accumulating on the planet, but disrupting hormones of aquatic life. And, it made sense that might affect humans as well. And that's one of those things where it takes a little bit of time to metabolize what that really means. Because in 2014, when you're pregnant, they're telling you drink bottled water, always have bottled water on hand. Mm-hmm. Like this is before everyone was, Stanley Cup, Adwala driven. There were so many touch points in your life that where plastic was just part of the things that you ate and put on your body. And it is like discovering Santa Claus isn't real. It's like one of those Santa Claus is not really a nightmare thing, but it is a nightmare moment where you're like, everywhere I look, you can hear spooky music playing, I guess. And so, especially in the things that you consume and the things you apply to your body, like everything is in plastic.
Yeah.
And some things must be in plastic and other things you can change. And that's really when I started making those changes. But at that time, like talking about plastic affecting health and not talking about kind of diverting from the story of accumulation and recycling, the Pacific garbage patch, that was what was being talked about, not like the health pieces of it. And it a little bit felt like a tinfoil hat time to be aware of plastic and be like, I think it's getting into our hormones and all these other things. And so now 12 years later, it's very evident that plastic is a problem. Mm. There's just no denying it. There's all the tinfoil hats have been crumpled up and recycled and, gone where they need to be. And I was in the beauty industry for a long time. I had, during that span of 2014 to 2021, when we launched, I tried so hard to find all the plastic-free swaps that you could do, like whether it was getting rid of plastic in the kitchen or, anywhere in the household or away from my children. But then for hair care, I just had a graveyard of shampoo and conditioner bars that I didn't want to use anymore. And I think a lot of people know, or a lot of people have felt that way too. Like they try and make the switches and they're just kind of unsatisfied with the other options that are out there. And so I knew that I wanted to create really excellent hair care bars. And I knew that my story for the company was not going to be all natural. It was going to be plastic free, but I wanted to keep the hair science and the cosmetic chemistry that makes hair care perform and work really well. Just get rid of the plastic, because my beef isn't with science. My beef is with the bottle.
Yeah. The microplastics. And I'm sure it's not something you wanted to be right about, right? But once you know,
Yeah.
you know.
I did not want to be right about it. I was kept waiting for that news article that was like, oh, don't worry, everything's fine. Every news article gets worse and worse about plastic. I can't, I can't take it.
So being so outspoken about the fact that clean beauty often lacks context or transparency a lot of the times,
Yeah.
you even defended, I think you touched on it slightly right now, using certain safe synthetics to avoid, the more broader impact environmental damage or exploitative labor practices that are tied essentially to these quote unquote natural ingredients. So from what you're seeing, do you think consumers are starting to crave more honesty and just even the more nuance from brands, even when the answer isn't necessarily like the perfect one or the most marketable one?
Some consumers are. Some consumers are absolutely hungry and driven by education and learning nuance, and many consumers are not. There's a lot of different kinds of consumers out there. So, something that I've discovered, and I kind of knew going into starting the company, that synthetic fragrance was going to be like a real, hot topic in the community. And I've just been in beauty manufacturing and formulation so long that I don't sit at the church of essential oils. It's just not, it's not the full picture when you hear something's all natural. Many times, like essential oils are cold pressed with the pesticides on the plant. And consumers have no idea that they're putting pesticides on their skin. Pesticides are intended to kill. Like that's what they are. They're poison. And that doesn't show up in an ingredient deck. And if it's, an essential oil that is commodified and comes from different farms, you have no idea what the farming practices are for that particular oil. And as I wouldn't say climate change, or as the world gets a little bit trickier to farm in, the demand for putting pesticides on everything is going to only increase to create bigger yields. Like that's the reality of what's going on there. And then for me, and I prefer synthetic fragrances. And of course, there's synthetic fragrances that are chock full of nasties, right? But there's also synthetic fragrances that are beautiful and clean and do not require the questionable farming practices or the pesticides or any of those other known endocrine disruptors that can appear in other ones. So it's a very, very tricky thing, and nuance is something I want consumers to crave. But what generally gets the most traction is sensationalized fear mongering. Like, when I've been in the industry a long time, the reason fragrance is just one word on a package. Now they're saying it's to hide all these like bad ingredients. But if anyone who's been in the industry a long time knows, it's because sometimes the fragrance ingredient list is like, it could be like 300 words long. And so you can't fit it on a package. So you can't, that's why. It's because you can't, like, there's so many instances where you can't fit it on a package. And so if you want your beauty packaging to be all cosmetic science words, I guess that's fine. But that's really what I have heard for the past 20 years in the biz. Like, that's the reason.
I've gone on that TikTok rabbit hole.
Oh yeah. You see, it's crazy. It's not that it's crazy, because everyone's craving truth. Everyone wants to know what's best for themselves, their families. Like, I understand why people latch on to kind of broader strokes and just are like, okay, no fragrance for me. Like, but I also want people to know that like essential oils aren't as sustainable as everyone says, just because they're natural. They could be chock full of allergens and you just wouldn't know. And so those are the things that science, like the beauty of science and chemistry, can take out of fragrances. Like, they can take out the allergens. They can minimize, what happens, kind of irritation that happens to the skin when you put them on. So, it really depends on how much a consumer really wants to learn the nuance. And I don't know if everyone has that energy to like be that educated about everything.
Well, and as you're talking, I'm fully having my own like Santa isn't real moment. And I'm like, oh God, I have to change everything. Like
No.
it's happening to me right now. And it's so overwhelming.
It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. What are we supposed to do? Study everything to every like nth degree? You can't.
No.
You can't.
People like you who are doing a lot more than most.
Well, I don't want to build a company on fear, and it's so easy to do that, to be honest. It's the easiest. It's like the low-hanging fruit is to scare people into buying your stuff. And that's never what I want. It's not even in my personality. Like, you're in New Jersey, that like that doesn't fly here.
Yeah.
You can scare someone into buying something once, but you can't get them to buy it twice. So I don't know. I want nuance to be on every consumer's mind, but the reality is it's not fair to expect that.
Yeah. Shifting gears for a second to like inspiration for you. You have credited 2 women with inspiring your work ethic. An anthropologist, academia mother. I feel like that's a mouthful. True. Anthropologist, academia mother. She modeled like a quiet strength for you, and then a very glamorous stepmother who built a small business empire. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of them.
You said they gave you kind of 2 halves of the same map. How do you blend that grounded and glamorous every day at Dip?
I don't know. I don't know how I blend it with the intention of, my mother was in academia and she was so sophisticated, so intelligent, PhD, and could speak, I think it was 8 languages, and could be funny in all of them, but was always kind of demonized money and capitalism. Right. And so that's one half. My stepmother was also educated and started a business and always taught me to not be scared of money, that money is not something to be scared of. It's a tool. It's something that is empowering. So I always try and build with like the heart of my mother and the ferociousness of my stepmother, and that it's brave. She came over, my stepmother and my mother both moved here from Iran during the revolution with little children, and both had to make it happen. And, when I see the empire my stepmother built, there was nothing ugly about the way she ran her business. She was great to her employees. I mean, even when she had a housekeeper, and when her housekeeper told her at one point, like, my dream is actually to start a restaurant, my stepmother gave her the money to start her restaurant. Like that. I mean, like, that's the type of person she was. My mother was also the same. I come from these 2 women who had very different kind of ethos to how they navigated the world. But the thing that the Venn diagram that was just 2 circles on top of each other, it was generosity. And that's how I put forward things for my customers, for my retailers. And I do get a little woo-woo about, I do think the energy comes back. And I do think customers notice, and I know that the stores notice. And that is how I kind of blended those 2 schools of thought into one school of thought, I guess.
I love that. I love the generosity. We're doing a lot of talk around trust right now, and a piece of building trust is generosity of spirit, generosity of time, of energy.
Yeah.
And that sounds like you said both of these women really demonstrated that. I feel like to have that balance of 2 very powerful women with such heavy influence is a gift.
That was the greatest gift of my life.
True.
There's no other gift that even came close.
Amazing.
Can I just say, throughout human history, that is like the coolest part about being a woman, and like having mothers and having sisters and having mentors and having a network of people. Like it genuinely is what has kept people doing. This is my anthropologist mom talking now through me. It's been the spirit of humanity forever that women were together and helped each other in every which way. And now that we see it like kind of modern day, it's kind of moved a little bit from family networking and staying at home, and now into like business networking, and that same energy and kind of, I don't know, a little bit of magic of what it means to be female is kind of keeps the web going. And I just really like that.
I love that. You're speaking my language. I'm very woo-woo and very pro women and women championing women and learning from each other, supporting each other.
It's in us. It's
yeah.
part of our biology.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that we've been taught somehow that women that we're a threat to one another, which is just simply untrue. I agree.
Okay.
So, all right. You're in sales, you're a consumer product, and most consumer brands grow by convincing people to buy more often, right? And you very intentionally designed dip bars to last up to 2 years. Is that correct?
They can last some people that long.
So that really would challenge the traditional capitalist playbook, if you will. How do you navigate the tension between business growth and conscious consumption?
So I'd like to say that that tension is kind of like, it's arbitrary, right? Like it's just, it doesn't need to be that way. And so for me, I know, because I'm a sustainable customer, and I see when companies are trying to capitalize on me as someone who wants to reduce my plastic or do better for the earth. With the thing that most companies fundamentally don't understand about the sustainable consumer is that we just want to buy less stuff. We don't want to buy something that's ultra cheap, and we don't want to buy something that has like planned obsolescence. We don't want that. That's not what we're here for. We're here to like really solve a problem. And so for me, I know that, you know, my conditioner bar is really like my magnum opus, right? Like it lasts someone about a year, sometimes 2 years. And if you have very dense or voluminous hair, if you're blessed in that way, it'll last you maybe 8 months. But someone who like relies on a lot of conditioner, they are churning through bottles like once every 3 to 5 weeks generally. And so I wanted this to surprise people. I wanted it to be like, oh my God, it's actually saving plastic. It's actually saving me money. It's actually helping me live what I intend to do, which is to shop less. And it's just really great. And that kind of builds its own cult following because it's so unusual, right? Like that is the marketing. The conditioner bar is the marketing, because not only is it amazing, and you know, I don't need to say it, you'll see everyone else says it. It's like kind of it's the hero of our whole line and the biggest problem I wanted to solve. But like, because it over delivers, and we don't set a lot of expectations, like that is why people talk about it and share it and buy it as gifts. Like, I mean, shampoo is a very unusual, and conditioner are very unusual gifts. Yeah. But because, you know, like it's not my first go-to to buy that for someone, you know, but people buy dip as gifts because they're so convinced that the other person will love it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess you grow it by reputation and not by volume.
Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry. My allergies are kicking my butt. Dip is also very proudly, from what it seems, not on Amazon. So instead, it seems like you're really prioritizing just like independent refill shops. I think it was surf shops, hair salons directly. So just places that are essentially built on human to human interaction and really local community. So in a world that is obsessed with like the instant gratification and instant delivery just being God, right? What is it, or I guess why was protecting that arguably slower but more personal and really more human retail experience so important to you?
Well, it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's that anthropology angel sitting on my shoulder, knowing that how women purchase and how important community is. So I'll talk specifically about the refill movement is mostly driven by women entrepreneurs of all different ages, all different backgrounds, and it exists. We're all connected to each other, this refill movement. And it's the kind of consumer I am and the kind of retailer that I want to support and entrepreneur I want to support. So I use that network. Well, it's use is kind of like sounds uglier than it is, but like I enable that network to survive by not being on Amazon. So if you can imagine, like, since the products last so long, if a customer gets like, you know, a little bit feisty and wants to buy a conditioner bar, you know, just out of convenience and have it delivered to their door, that store then loses that customer for maybe 1 to 2 years. So I'm very conscious of making sure that people go back to their stores and go not only, to buy dip, but go and, that halo effect of discovering by accident other cool sustainable swaps. Like, and then they have a store owner, a real person that can answer all of their questions, like lead them to other products that they might like and other solutions that are vetted, which is the most important thing, right? Like, because I think everyone's tired of buying stuff that stinks online based on fake reviews and fake UGC and fake, whatever. Like, I think going into a store and having someone who's kind of like the last truth teller left in the universe to lead you to the right products is so important. And as a company and just as a human, I'm really happy to drive people into those places.
Yeah, nothing drives me crazier. You're right. Then what is it? This review is sponsored by a free product or whatever.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
like, who cares? Then who cares?
Back to back to back. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much of that, and I'm pitched that kind of stuff all the time. I just don't think those reviews are effective or fair to the consumer.
Yeah. When developing dip, you spent dozens of iterations trying to create essentially this one really great bar that worked across a wide range of textures, hair types, whether it was, fine hair to thick hair to type 4 curls to straight hair. Why was inclusivity something that you wanted to build specifically into the product itself rather than creating, this is solution A for this hair type and, having a range of 20 solutions that's typical nowadays?
Yeah. Well, I'll give you a short answer and then I'll give you a long answer. The short answer is I don't think a family can store all those different bars in the shower or identify them. Mm-hmm. And I think that, if you have a mixed family, type 1 hair, type 4 hair, and then 4 curl patterns in the children that are all different, I don't know how you become plastic free if they don't work for everyone. So that's one. And on the other side, my best friend, she's mixed. She has 3 different curl patterns on one head. Mm-hmm. And growing up, we traveled together. We've been best friends since we were 11 and now we're in our 40s. And like this idea that her hair was like an other in the conversation. Yeah. Like it wasn't fair for her when we go to hotels, she needed like 3 times or 4 times the amount of conditioner that I did. And she would often be kind of like looked at funny if she asked for more at a hotel desk. Like that kind of uncomfortable conversation that is only kind of dealt with by one particular hair type is something I just wanted to eliminate. I wanted it to feel like 2 best friends like us could go to the beach and detangle our hair with the same bar. And like, that's again, like, I don't know whether it becomes very kumbaya in this interview, but like, I do think that that's part of the fun, just being with your girlfriends or your sister or your mom, like being able to share stuff. And I wanted to bring that to the products and bring it in like a genuine way.
Yeah.
You're bringing, it's really beautiful, the level of humanity that you're bringing to this consumer good that all of us use every day. And most people, I would say generally people don't think twice about it. And our podcast is Work Made Human. We love to focus on the heart and the human in anything and everything. So you can't be too woo-woo with us. That's good. No, not at all. So yeah, more heart and humanity, the better.
It's just a love letter to the sustainable consumer and just people, because I want everyone to feel invited to participate in sustainability. And you can't do that by just segmenting people or guilting them or making them feel like they have to buy all these different versions of the same thing. Like, I don't think that's the path. And that's just me. Like, it's a path that I get criticized for a lot because, it's not really built for rocket growth. But to be honest, people love dip and they talk about it so often with each other. That's this like underground web of people that love it. And that's really good enough for me, to be honest.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. And just the way that you speak, it's going to lead to my next question, but the way you speak, I can tell you're just a deeply principled and valued human. And clearly dip is rooted in its values. But as you know, like values can get tested real quick, especially when growth enters the picture. So as a leader, what is a lesson you had to learn the hard way?
Well, I think the hardest lesson for me to learn as a leader is that sustainability is not top of mind for everyone. It just isn't. And you can't make it be. You cannot get people to care that are determined to not care. That's one. And on the other side, right? Like there's people that don't care about sustainability. They're like, whatever, they don't care. And then the other side is like there are some people that are so rigid in what they think sustainability means that you'll never be sustainable enough for them. Do you know what I mean? So there's the two ends, right? That are like on both sides. And you're like, I built it for the middle. I built it for someone who reasonably and cares about the earth, but also very much cares about their hair and also has, wants to feel good after the purchase, like that's who I built it for. But learning those two, those sides has been a test.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
You're never sustainable enough for the trolls. Like they will.
You're never sustainable enough for the trolls. I love that. That needs
to. They will find something about you that they don't like. I mean, the fragrance one is a big one. There's some like just every once in a while they'll needle on me at something. And I'm like,
fascinating. And just the trolling in general. You're like, what? How do you not have better things to do? Like, what is happening?
Well, what more can I do to be the kind of company that someone would be proud of? Like, I don't know what else I can do to satisfy you.
You've done it.
And that is always like a funny thing. But sometimes I think that the trolls, digital trolls, are very, very young people that aren't like really, like they don't know enough about manufacturing or products or anything yet.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking like 11.
Going back to the point we said earlier, right, where it's like 100% natural or like the organic. Like I don't know if you've heard about the strawberries.
Oh yeah,
regional, if it's Jersey specific or with Driscoll. Jill, did you hear?
No.
Long story short, like it's the preservatives in the strawberries that they believe are causing cancer and such. So to your point, right? Sometimes people just get so obsessed with the buzzwords, right? The 100% all natural.
Yeah.
I know we're at time. I know we got 2 minutes. Nichole, what would be your preference?
Sorry?
I know what would be your preference and how, because we've got just a couple. So what's your preference on how we close this out?
I can ask the bonus question. I think that's a fun one.
Yeah.
Then we'll wrap.
Okay, cool.
Kate, I have a hunch where your answer may go, but we'll let you answer it. When you were a kid, I know you had two really wonderful influences in your life that you alluded to. But did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? And in what ways do you see that version of yourself just showing up at work today?
So no, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a glass blower on Sesame Street. And I do remember telling my dad that, and he's very Persian. And he thought it was like the most ridiculous thing he'd ever. So no, I don't have that. I will say whatever whimsical piece of my childhood that wanted me to, blow glass. Like I think I've brought it in, just making the brand a little bit whimsical and weird, and like very retro and late 80s, early 90s vibe. So I guess I've maybe just frozen a little bit of my childhood in that time and brought it forward.
I love it. I don't think we will ever have someone who gives us that answer. That is hands down the most unique response. Amazing. And you have, and you like your ability to articulate how it translates, because we've seen that like consistently when we're kids, there's something that translates into either what we're doing now and you've got it. Whimsical and weird. And beautiful and human.
I just don't think anything needs to be that's even serious things are so much better when they're not so serious when they're presented to you, And I think that might be part of being from New Jersey is just like everything's very sarcastic and silly around me and my friends. And I wanted to bring that into the brand.
Yeah. Love it. Well, Kate, it has been truly lovely getting to have you here today on Work Made Human. Everybody, this is Kate Assaraf, founder of DIP, proud, whimsically weird woman who supports all women. Final question. This is kind of a little departure, but it's Work Made Human. What gives you hope about the future of work? Or, I mean, I would even say the community that you're in as entrepreneurs and sustainability.
Well, I think the thing that gives me the most hope is that people are starting to get fed up with their phones and the digital pollution out there. I think what gives me so much hope is that you see like people baking bread again and knitting and taking classes and, you know, going together like in groups to a store, like a refill store, and discovering what's there. Like that gives me so much hope. So the more anyone starts to put their phone down, the happier I get anyway.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. This was lovely. Thank you so much. Really, like you are such a gem and such a joy, and your heart is, you can feel it in everything you say. It's really refreshing.
Thank you so much. It's like very kind of you to say that.